A bloody battle of brawn and wits with the ferocious look of the predator was everything we needed in an intense thriller, and it was there in Prey. But the fifth installment of the series, actually a prequel, is now over. And to keep the adrenaline rush going, we have a list of movies for you in this video if you're a Prey fan. Let's explore the thrill. First up, we have Walk Down 10 Cloverfield Lane. If you loved Dan Trachtenberg's style in the direction of Prey, with the incredibly intense battles and surviving struggles, you would love 10 Cloverfield Lane. It has that scary, intense vibe to it that you've been looking for since you watched Prey. 10 Cloverfield Lane has a plot that revolves around a small group of characters trying to survive and struggle through tense situations. A major plot of this movie involves a young woman trapped in a bunker and trying to find her way out of it. The leading cast in this amazing thriller has Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Michelle, a young woman trapped in an uneven situation in a bunker, and John Goodman as an overbearing man who won't let the woman leave. Elizabeth, by her performance, proved herself as a top-notch actress, raising the bar high in intense thrillers. The emotional range from getting stuck at a bunker to realizing John Goodman's paranoia is a treat to watch. It's tense, with perfect visuals and audio, and a wonderful sci-fi hook that makes it a part of this list. Moving on to Mad Max Fury Road. Wouldn't you love an action-packed thriller with Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron? If you want a thriller having most of them, Mad Max counts as a favorite. This action-packed post-apocalyptic film, directed by George Miller, was released back in 2015 and stands as one of the finest cinematic experiences of all time. The cast speaks only when they're told to in the script, but that actually counts as an acting win for both Tom and Charlize, raising the bar up and above. The storyline features a woman rebel, played by Charlize Theron, who rebels against a tyrannical ruler in search of her homeland with the aid of a drifter, played by Tom Hardy, and other lead characters. Mad Max is mostly shot in the deserts and heavily focuses on using action set pieces to drift home the story's emotions and is a visual achievement. It's a must-watch for a Prey fan. Up next is Blood Quantum. As the name speaks, this masterpiece is a blood bag, one of the finest zombie films with all the gory and goodness that the fans crave. Directed by Jeff Barnaby, released just before COVID hit us in 2019, bagged a couple of Canadian Screen Awards. It's an Indigenous classic with a storyline of the dead, zombies coming back to life. The zombie plague affects everyone but the Indigenous inhabitants, who are strangely immune to it. For a Prey fan who loved the historical native background theme, it's a must-watch, with all the twists and turns and violence. Let's talk about The Revenant. Even though Leonardo DiCaprio is a little controversial right now, no one can deny his skill for acting. Get a hold of one of his finest performances in The Revenant, a masterpiece thriller with the complexity of survival. That's what made you a Prey fan, right? The Revenant was released back in 2016, directed by Alejandro Gonzalez, and still stands as one of the most celebrated films. It earned Academy Awards for both DiCaprio and Alejandro. The film revolves around the true story of Hugh Glass, a fur trapper and trader in the early 1800s, who is left to die by his crew after being brutally mauled by a bear. The movie is driven by the survival story of DiCaprio alone in the wilderness. Shot mostly in natural light and featuring gruesome sequences that would churn your stomach, this film was listed as an inspiration by Prey's director, Dan Trachtenberg. If you loved Prey, you'll hold this to your heart. Now we have Gravity. You must be thinking about the comparison here. Prey, for one, is historically situated in the 17th century, whereas Gravity is a 21st century film. But don't just skip yet. Here's how Sandra Bullock's starred masterpiece is going to be your favorite. The plot of this film, directed brilliantly by Alfonso, revolves around an astronaut who's left stranded in space after a debris shower knocks out her shuttle and kills the rest of her crew. She has to survive in anything and any way possible. It's a non-stop thriller filled with adrenaline excitement and a pure sci-fi bent. The intensity of this movie is rooted in the effort to survive another day, another hour, or maybe another minute. For a thrill-loving movie enthusiast, Gravity must be on your list. Coming up, Alien. Prey is about a lonely woman using all the strength she has to outlast a monster, just so she can survive another day. And that's basically the plot of Alien 2, just with a little more spice. The movie is about a woman, Ellen Ripley, who boards a commercial spaceship. But things turn for the worst once they actually get into space. An alien infiltrated the ship. Yes, an alien. It began killing the whole crew one at a time. With little to no resources at hand, and a monster that can easily kill humans without a problem, Ripley has to figure out a way to stay alive, fend for herself, and how to get the monster off their aircraft. Not only is this movie pretty similar to Prey, but it's also considered one of the best sci-fi horror movies of all time, so you should just watch it anyway. Now for Crawl. Unlike Prey or some of the other movies we've mentioned in this list, Crawl doesn't have any fictional monsters or supernatural elements in it, but it makes up for that by telling a more real story instead. The movie is about Haley, a competitive swimmer who makes her way to her dad's house in Florida to check on him as a huge hurricane arrives in the state. But by the time she gets to his house, she realizes the house has already started to flood up, and all her efforts to save her dad and herself were wasted when several alligators stood in their way. Haley has to somehow get to safety even though the alligators seem like they'll eat just about any creature that comes their way. The movie will especially hit those who are actually going through Hurricane Ian in Florida right now the hardest. Next, Jaws. Although it might seem a little strange to compare Jaws, a movie about sharks who are predators, to Prey, but when you dig a little deeper, you'll find the two actually have a lot in common. Spielberg's Jaws is about a great white shark hunting just about anyone who gets in the sea with it, but a local police officer is determined to bring the shark down even though the other authority figures pretend like it's not an issue. Jaws is about predators, which is one of the main aspects of Prey. The director said the main character being hidden added a major influence on how they ended up shooting the movie, especially the predator encounters. Moving on, Predator. Predator is a must-watch if you love Prey. After all, Prey is from the Predator franchise. Not only that, but Prey has also been heavily marketed as the prequel to John McTiernan's Predator. So, if you want to know where Prey started off, then you should probably watch this movie. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger as the leader of the group of mercenaries that are on a rescue mission in the jungle. Even though the show is from over 50 years ago, they still somehow made all the monsters look great, at least for the time being. The movie has the same creepy and thrilling vibe to it as Prey. The best part is while watching Predator, you'll probably even pick up some of the references they've added in Prey, ones that you might not have gotten before. Last but not least, The Descent. Just like Prey, The Descent is about a woman fighting a huge monster who's ready to devour them. This Neil Marshall movie follows a group of women who head out to explore a cave system on the east coast of the United States. Sarah, the main character, is still recovering from a huge loss from the past, so her friends decided a little spelunking trip would help cheer her up. Well, let's just say it did not make it any better. Exploring caves is already a pretty scary experience since you don't know what you'll find out there, and there's barely any space to move around. But this movie just makes it 10 times worse than we could ever imagine. When they get into the cave, they find something way scarier than a few bats and bugs. They find something much darker and deadlier. It's safe to say, poor Sarah won't be recovering anytime soon. The movie has some pretty scary designs, so beware that this is not for the weak-hearted. That's a wrap for today's video. Was there any Indigenous thriller we might have missed? Make sure to let us know in the comments down below. As always, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and click the subscribe button for more videos like this one. We'll see you next time.